Hello, Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to another installment in this series, one verse a week. This week's Parsha is Parshat Ki Tavo. That can be found in your Bibles from Deuteronomy chapter 25, verse 1 through 29, verse 8. This series, again, is being prepared for the reading cycle for the Jewish year 5779. If you have found this series or any of my other projects to be useful to you, I wish you would consider subscribing to this channel. Click the bell icon so that you can receive updates for any new content that I upload. If you feel that this project or any of my other projects are worthy of your support, I wish you would consider becoming a patron over on Patreon or potentially making a small donation via PayPal. That information can be found in the details below. Okay, let's get going. Parshat Ki Tavo. Okay, the verse that I chose this week is Deuteronomy 29:8. That's how it is numbered in Jewish Bibles, and 9 in all of the verse 9 in all of the Christian Bibles that I consulted. Again, there are some slight variances in numbering between Jewish and Christian Bibles, largely due to the fact that some of the verses in the Christian Bible will fall in the middle of a sentence, or sometimes that creates difficulty in understanding it. So certain verses where that's the case, the Jewish Bibles choose to not split the sentence, take the whole verse as a whole, and as a result, that will cause a shift of one or two verses within a chapter. And that's what's happening here in this chapter. Okay, fine. So let's read first. Let's read Ushmartem et divrei habrit hazot va'asitem otam lama'an taschilu et kol asher ta'asun. One more time. Ushmartem et divrei habrit hazot va'asitem otam lama'an taschilu et kol asher ta'asun. Okay, let's look at the verbs. Okay, the first word here, ushmartem. Okay, the shorish is shin mem resh, shamar, which means to guard, to keep. So shmartem, that is atem at the end here. So shmartem would be, in and of itself, it is perfect. Perfect tense, pa'al, perfect, shmartim, and you observed, you guarded. And the vav ha'hipuk flips it, ushmartim, to the future tense, and you shall observe, or you will observe. Okay, va'asitem, again the shorish here is ein sin hey. Both of these are shirashim that we've seen a lot of. Common verbs. You'll note that it's in the exact same form as ushmartem, asitem. The root means to do or make, so the base word here is asa. The pronoun here is atim, you plural, masculine. So asitim, it's in a perfect Paul form. So you did. Asitim, you did, you made, you performed. And the vav ha'hipuk flips it, va'asitim, and you will do. Whoa, okay, fine. So we have further this word here, taskilu. This is going to really be where we focus the most of the discussion in this video. It comes from the shorish sin chaf lamed, which means to to be prudent, to behave wisely, to do something with intent. You'll see that a lot of the translations, or in fact all of the translations really this time around, prefer to translate it as succeed, or prosper, or something like that. So we're going to kind of get into what's going on there. Okay, so let's look at the form. Taskilu is a he-fil. This presentation is in the he-fil conjugation. This is the second person masculine plural. Again, the he-fil is this is imperfect as well. The he-fil expresses a sense of causative action, of causing something to be. So that adds to the mix of what's going on here. So we're going to leave this open in our translation. At this point, I'm just noting that it means to behave prudently, to behave wisely, to do something with wisdom. And most of the translations, we're going to translate it as succeed, which doesn't mean exactly the same thing. So we're going to discuss that. Okay, and finally, ta'asun. You see, it's the same old root as asitim. Ta'asun. Ein, sin, hey, means to do or make. Okay, let's go look at the non-verbs real quick. Ushmartem et divrei habrit. Okay, so I'm taking divrei habrit as a whole. Words of the covenant. Devarim means words, things, matters, and habrit, the covenant. Mem drops out in the smichut form. Divrei habrit, words of the covenant. Okay, so ushmartem et divrei habrit hazot, and you will guard the direct object. What are you guarding? Divrei habrit, guarding the words of the covenant. Hazot, these words of the covenant, or this covenant, the words of this covenant. Okay, vasitem otam, and you will do them. Otam, do them. Lema'an is terms a little, as I say to my students, a little wiggly. You can sort of use it to say different things in different places. Here it has the sense of so that, for the sake of, something like that. So lema'an means so that here. Taskilu, so that, taskilu. Et kol asher, direct object, all that, asher, that, ta'asun, you will do, or all that you do. You shall, yeah. Okay, let's read it one more time. Ushmartem et divrei habrit, and you will guard the words of the covenant, hazot, this covenant, vasitem otam, and you'll do them. Lema'an, so that, or in order that, taschilu et kol asher ta'asun, in order that taschilu, you will, I'm going to translate, behave prudently to all that you do. Okay, problem with that is that behaving prudently doesn't lend itself to a direct object so readily. And we have the et here, so that's one of the confusions in this with this word. Okay, let's look at a few things. Let's look at this word seichel real quick. Sichel. Okay, let's look at another example of it. Famous example from Genesis 48:14. This is the famous scene where Yisrael is blessing Ephraim and Manasseh, and he crosses his hands. And Joseph thinks perhaps Israel is old, perhaps there's something up, and in fact, the verse tells us he's doing it with intent, with prudence, with intent. Okay, it says, V'yishlach Yisrael, and Yisrael sent, extended, at Yamino, his right hand, V'yoshet al rosh Ephraim, and he put it on, extended it on to the head of Ephraim. V'hu hatzeir, and he was the younger one. Okay, so here we have Yamino, that would be the principal blessing, would come from the right hand. So he's putting it on the head of, right. He's putting the head on, his right hand on the head of the younger one, Ephraim. Vet Smolo, and his left hand, al rosh Menashe, on the head of Menashe. And then it interjects here, Sichel et yadav. He had moved his hands with intent. Sichel et yadav. He had done so, moved his hands with intent. It comes back, Ki Menashe habachor, because Menashe was the older. In other words, it's saying that he had intended to circumvent the blessing for the Menashe as being the main blessing. Therefore, he put his right hand on the head of Ephraim and not Menashe. And the verse is telling us that he meant to do that. He intended to do that. He was behaving prudently when he did that. Okay, so Sikha here we see means that. Now, if you look at a lot of the Christian translations, they just don't even translate this part. They just kind of rush over it and don't reference it. The King James does reference it. They said, I think it says, he acted wisely or something along those lines. So that is, interesting that that's a lot of the other Bibles don't translate this phrase. Okay, let's look at some other issues that we don't usually look at. The Targumim. So the Targum is just an Aramaic, really just a translation. But when we talk about Targumim, we're typically talking about the Aramaic translations that were done in the classical period. Or done around the Second Temple period, when Aramaic had become the vernacular amongst Jews, Palestinian Jews. Certainly amongst Babylonian Jews, it was already the vernacular for some time. Okay, so the Targumim, these translations for Deuteronomy 29:8, and especially I'm just looking at the word taskilu, this word that we're questioning exactly how we're going to translate it. So we have basically, as I mentioned earlier, this idea of success, of succeeding, and then we also have this idea of acting wisely, acting with intent. Both of these translations are already present in these fairly ancient Aramaic translations of this verse. So Targum Onkelos, and both Targum Onkelos and Targum Yonatan. Targum Onkelos is the principal Targum on the text of the Chumash, text of the Torah, and Targum Yonatan is the principal Targum on the text of the Nach, on the prophets and the writings, those portions of the Bible. So both of these are, for their own respective bodies of literature, are the principal Targums. So both of these Targumim translate Taskilu as Titzlichon. Titzlichon. Titzlichon means, it's related to the Hebrew word Hatzlacha, meaning success. Titzlichon, to succeed. So we already see that in our translations. The Yerushalmi, which is another Targum Yerushalmi, is another Targum floating around out there. It translates this word as Tit Bonanun. Tit Bonanun. This comes from the same root as Bina, meaning wisdom, understanding, to do it with understanding. In other words, to do it with intent. So we see already in the Targums, we see that this split is already there. Kind of how we think about this verse. And I posit that much of it comes with how does thinking into something, which is not usually what we would say is an active verb. How does that have a direct object. And since this is in the Hefil form, in the Hefil binyan, how, can we reflect that this is trying to express some sort of causative action? So I think the translations that choose to translate this phrase as to prosper or to succeed or something like that are trying to express both that causative action and that there's some sort of direct object relationship to what's coming after the et. So I think this is an attempt to show that. Okay, I think it's a little interpretive, so I'm going to, in my translation, I'm going to steer away from that. Let's see how I translated. I said, you shall guard the words of this covenant. Okay, it's that simple Hebrew, and you shall do them. Okay, you shall do them so that you act prudently in all that you do. So you act prudently, you act wisely, you act with intent in all that you do. I think all those would be good. Excuse me. Good translations. Okay, so let's see how the other translations handle this. I've already alluded to what they're doing. KJV, therefore keep the words of his covenant and do them, that you may prosper in all that you do. Okay, they prosper. So the implication is that being wise and being prudent in your actions causes prosperity. So they're trying to capture that causative notion of thinking intently. They're trying to capture that in terms of as prosperity. It's sort of causing something. Your thinking is causing something. So I know what they're trying to do. I think it's a little interpretive, but I know what they're trying to do. Okay, NIV. Carefully follow the terms of this covenant so that you may prosper in everything you do. Okay, NIV, of course, conflates things. They kind of, they brush over things frequently. Carefully follow the terms of this covenant. So shmartim, guard, so that I guess that could be carefully follow, I guess. But what happened to v'asitim otam, and do them? Let's go up here in the verse. It says here v'asitim otam, and do them. So we see that the KJV does not have that. We really have to carefully follow the terms of this covenant. They took the guarding and the following and turned it into an adverb and a verb. Carefully follow. I think that takes it pretty far afield of the how the Hebrew goes. So I'm not a big fan of this translation. Again, it's interpretive. I don't think that it means terribly different from what the verse actually is saying, but it's interpretive nevertheless. And I tried to stay away from that. And so prosper, I'm willing to forgive them because this is a kind of hard thing to translate, but the rest of it has problems. Let's look at the NRSV. Therefore, diligently observe the words of this covenant in order that you may succeed in everything you do. Okay, they've done a little bit the same as the NIV. Diligently observe becomes shmartim v'asitim. So shmartim v'asitim becomes diligently observe. So they've conflated again the two verbs into this verb adverb phrase. Again, I'd rather have my two verbs, even if it does sound redundant. I'd rather have my two verbs to know that there's two verbs there in the Hebrew. I'd rather do my own interpreting if possible. Okay, in order that you may succeed. So they have the word succeed, okay, which is, I guess, in the same vein as prosper. And they give us a footnote, C, and that footnote says, or deal wisely. in everything that you do. Okay, so that's good. I like that they are pointing you to the fact that there's some tension in this this translation. Again, the tension is that it's a he-ful form. It has some heavy implications of being causative, and to just simply say act intently in English doesn't necessarily conjure up that sort of causative tone. So in English, we have to dance with it a little bit. Okay, fine. So NRSV. So it's okay. I like that they give the alternate here. Okay, this is more akin to what it really means. Okay, JPS. Therefore, observe faithfully all the terms of this covenant, that you may succeed in all that you undertake. Okay, therefore, observe faithfully all the terms of this covenant. So again, they've chosen to take two verbs, shmartem, vasitem, guard them and do them. Yeah, you shall guard, you shall do. And they've again, like the other translations before it, have chosen to turn this into a verb-adverb combo. So again, this, I don't like that. It obscures sort of the flow of the original Hebrew. Succeed. You know, again, I'm willing to forgive them. This is a little hard to state because of, again, the binyan and the fact that thinking and understanding, we don't really think of it as having direct objects, not in the sense to say doing something does. So I can forgive that. In fact, I even understand the tension of why they translate that way. So, okay, so that's fun. Let's look at the stone. You shall observe the words of this covenant. Okay, ushmartem, you shall observe. That's good. And you shall perform them. Vasitem otam, you shall perform them. So that, leman, so that you will succeed in all that you do. Yeah, so that you will succeed in all that you do. So succeed. Again, they are choosing to express it like that, to, again, dealing with some of the difficulties with that word. And all that you do. So, all in all, I like the stone. Succeed is, you know, pretty much what all the translations did. So we'll forgive them that. I like the fact that they have both verbs represented here. The NRSV, I like the fact that they footnote to kind of what the word really means. Deal wisely, deal prudently, and that is, I think, good. I don't like that they conflated the verbs, so all in all, it's not a great translation, but I do like the fact that they footnoted to what's going on there. And the KJV, again, very similar to the Art Scroll. It has both, it keeps both verbs in the sentence, and struggles with that word similarly to how all the other translations struggle with it. Okay, let's go back and look at the Hebrew one last time. Okay, ushmartem et divrei habrit hazot, v'asitem otam, lema'an taschilu et kol asher ta'asam. Ushmartem et divrei habrit hazot, and you shall observe, you shall guard the words of this covenant. V'asitem otam, and you will do them. Lema'an, so that, in order that, taschilu, you will behave prudently, act wisely, something along those lines, et kol asher tazun, in all that you do. And again, the whole reason that this is difficult is this is a hefil binyan, which implies some sort of causative action, and so they're sort of interpreting for you that the causative action of thinking wisely is to win, to succeed, to prosper. Yep. Okay, very good. I hope that was intelligible. I had initially thought this was an easy verse, but as is usually the case, if you just scratch around a little bit, you can find points of interest in almost any verse. Most weeks I don't pick with any sort of intent or agenda. And some weeks I literally just put my finger down on the page, and wherever it lands, that's the verse I do. And more often than not, interesting things, at least to my mind, come up. Okay, anyway, I appreciate you learning along with me. Kol Tuv, Hatzlacha Rabba, keep learning.